a lot of people haven't had pay increases in a couple of years. They haven't seen the bonuses that they were used to seeing. They're kind of in fear of what's happening from a pay standpoint. And when the market starts to turn, if they don't see a quick turn within their company, you're at risk of losing them.
This is the Pass the Pitch podcast with Anna Frazzetto. Each episode, we sit down with bold thinkers and industry trailblazers to uncover the strategies, stories, and sparks of inspiration that drive growth and transformation. Let's get started.
Well, welcome everyone. Today I get to close out my first season of the podcast, and can you believe it? I get to do it with my dear friend and colleague, Leslie Vickrey. Leslie is the CEO and founder of ClearEdge Marketing, truly an industry expert in this space. I also want to share, Leslie, when I do a little bit of research and prepping for the guests, as I always like to take a look at the About section on LinkedIn. And I'm just going to read something that you have there, which I think is so, it describes you perfectly, that your mission spanning from the inception of ClearEdge to your involvement in organizations remains steadfast to uplift others. And for as long as I've known you, this has been your mantra. You're determined and centered on empowering women, amplifying voices that often go unheard, and providing opportunities to those who have been overlooked. You're also passionate about attracting and retaining and advancing women in technology. And you are the proud co-founder of ARA, which stands for Attract, Retain, and Advance Women in Tech. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Anna. You could take my name out of that and describe yourself the same exact way as far as uplifting those around you, supporting women in business, women in tech, kind of all the things. So I'm in great company here with you today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, so why don't we just dive in? I feel like a common theme from going to the conferences and also with our conversations, talking to prospects and clients, it's around driving growth in an organization during volatile times. And this year has been truly an interesting year. There's a little bit of apprehension as to what the next couple of years are going to look like, especially for anybody that's in the tech sector. So what are you seeing and what are your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, it's a great question, Anna. I think the irony is most of our companies haven't driven growth during this time, but I like to say we're setting ourselves up for that growth during that time. So really making sure, always we should be operating efficiently and in high performing ways and manners. For us, as you know, we really looked at if the market's turning and people are changing the way they invest in marketing, what else could we be doing? So during a downturn, you look at, or during difficult times, is it a new product? Is it a new service? Is it a new market, a new country, new state, whatever that may be, or a new way to, deliver a service? Obviously, with AI and other tools and technologies out there, there are efficient ways that you can change the way in which you deliver and focus your attention and areas. So taking, I think, the time to really focus in on your business and what matters most to your client base, and then looking opportunistically at, okay, if we're not growing here, where could we grow, without leaving the core of what it is that you do, but finding ways to do that. Is it investing in your team and developing, more training opportunities for people? Is it making sure you have a strong bench for when the market does change? We talk about this all the time, Anna, where a lot of salespeople have struggled when the market's down in selling. So what training and development can you give your team? So to me, it's during those times, what can you do to invest in growth, if it's even in the future of that growth? For us, as far as what we're seeing, definitely a change in the market. Our pipeline is stronger than ever going into 2025. People are really optimistic in making some of those investments. And I know you see this too, I'm sure, where it's investments not only in marketing, investing in their teams and development and bringing people on board, if it's rethinking the way they hire fractionally and getting amazing talent in to their company if they're not ready to bring it on full time. It's being agile and thinking of different and creative ways to kind of grow your business in a time when it isn't growing. But I have to say, going into 2025, I felt optimistic going into 2024, but I think it was a lot of hopium where we were hoping that this would happen. This time we actually have some of the data and statistics of our own that we're tracking to see that growth.
Yeah, and I agree. I think you bring up a couple of points that are worth, kind of expanding on. Investing in your teams, right? Investing in the people. That's one thing that I speak to a lot of my current clients is around. This is a great time to self reflect, and it's a great time to be able to assess what can you do better with the team, right? Is the productivity where the productivity needs to be, and how do we prepare for the future? So it is a great time to just kind of hit the pause button a little bit and revamp and kind of tool up, as I say, so that you can approach the coming year and the growth that's anticipated.
Anna, to your point on the investing in your teams, when the market is tough, a lot of people haven't had pay increases in a couple of years. They haven't seen the bonuses that they were used to seeing. They're kind of in fear of, what's happening from a pay standpoint. And when the market starts to turn, if they don't see a quick turn within their company, you're at risk of losing them. So part of that development during those times is to say, we may not be able to give you this, but we believe in you in a leader and we want to invest in you. So we're going to do this instead, which could be the training and development and so forth. But being open and honest about, where the company is and really making sure that you lead with that kind of trust and transparency. Engage your teams, make sure that they're fully engaged during, times of any time really, but especially when times are tough and you're looking at how can we get back to growth, making sure your teams are engaged and that you're investing in them and that they feel and see that is really critical.
Right. I mean, and it kind of ties into a little bit when I know our next subject is going to be around, culture. But before we get there, the transparency component. I think often, great leaders during great times, everybody's great, right? Everybody's, rocking and rolling. Revenue is where it needs to be. But a true leader is someone that can navigate the waters when things are not going the way that you anticipated, where you've missed your budget by 20% or by 30%, where you have to respond to a board in regards to the negative revenue stream that you had originally anticipated. But that the transparency part, this is where you engage your team, where they buy into helping, like we're all in it together, right? We're gonna get through this, but we all need to kind of communicate and get through it together, which I think a lot of times it's very difficult for a CEO to acknowledge that they need to not be in protect mode of the company and shield them, but to really get them to be part of it.
Right, right. Listen, it's a fine balance to strike. We're a smaller company, so sometimes it's easier, I think, in that case where, I don't have to worry about a board, investors, stock, things of that nature. I do all of us, regardless of that, have to worry about our people and make sure that they feel like we're sharing with them everything. And I remember back in the day running internal communications for a publicly traded company and needing to strike that balance of transparency and what you say. Little things like a lot of companies have gone through layoffs and employees will ask, will there be more? And the executive who says no, I hope they really know that, because then when you do have to make a change and do something, you lose that trust with the team. So there's a way that you can be really transparent, and some things you don't know the answer to, but you're doing your best as a CEO and founder and leader to make the best decisions so you don't have to do that again. And that's when you need everyone to be on board and to behind you as a leader. So they believe in you. You want them to absolutely believe in you and believe what you say to them. And that's why for me, leading with trust and transparency is so key.
Right. Well, if they believe in you, they will fight for you, right? They will show up for you. They will work 110% to kind of get the company out of the situation that they're in. And I think that's the magic word, trust and transparency. Completely agree. So let's talk a little bit about, culture. This is something that's really, a passion of mine. I know it's a passion of yours. And originally when I was thinking about, impact of culture, I think about my roots. I'm first generation in this country. And I think about the impact of, how do you fit into an environment when the environment is foreign to you? And then it kind of, expand upon company culture and what does that mean and how do you create that? Share with you your, kind of your perspective, what you're seeing, and maybe how ClearEdge operates in this fashion.
Right. I mean, culture is so important to me. I think it's part of what makes ClearEdge special. And every founder, CEO, executive will say, "No, our culture is the best. What we have is absolutely unique and so different." And I do believe a lot of times it is special. It's because it's what you create. And one of the challenges is how do you maintain that culture as you grow and scale and things change, or sometimes you have turnover where the saying what got you here won't get you there, and therefore sometimes the people who got you there and helped build and foster that culture, they're not there anymore to carry on that torch. So how do you get the new people who are in the company to feel that same feeling and believe in and build that culture? I do think I believe one advantage we have as a company when it comes to culture is that a lot of us come from internal communications and communications in general. So we know just when you feel like you're communicating enough, you need to communicate a little bit more and stay on top of that. So culture building and having our values and our vision and always reiterating that within the company and having a communication plan and strategy is really important to us. So much so, and then I'll go back to kind of the creation of the culture itself. But we really look at I always think of, who's the audience, what's the channel we're going to use for communicating, and what's the frequency or how often. And we literally have something where if it's every day, so daily, we have what we call awesome alerts, where anyone on our Slack channel, which is what we use, can give an awesome alert to another colleague. So it's peer to peer. Every Friday, we do a Five for Friday, and we switch out who does those Five for Fridays. For me, this Friday, closing out the year, I'll be posting a video with my top five reflections, of the year. So holding to that top five, and then every month, quarter, biannually, annually, we have something else that we're doing to communicate to the team and really build in those messages, some of the culture components that are really, important to us. And we also try to have fun on, Slack and build a camaraderie where everyone knows their kids, they know their pets. We do fun AI things like someone had posted on the water cooler channel something about put in AI, something about a snowman or a character this time of year, and if it were your pet, what it would look like, and all of these things. And it's really fun and funny to see, and it adds to this lightheartedness of our culture. To me, our why, and you mentioned this in the beginning when introducing me, literally written out, and we share it in our company meetings, is to rise up. And from the day we started the company, 18 years ago, the why was really finding something unique about each person as to why they joined. So imagine, Anna, this, you and I both came from, strict corporate environments. Who was there the earliest? Who was there the latest? Then I launched ClearEdge. So I went from very strict environment to launching a virtual company 18 years ago when no one was virtual. And most people, quite frankly, weren't outsourcing marketing at the time. So when I think back at that, everyone who joined the company at the beginning had a why as to why they came. If you remember Kathy Dooley, who was on our team, she was a client. She wanted to join our company because her parents, who were aging, lived in Florida half the year and she wanted to stay in the Cape. But at the time, her company wouldn't allow her that flexibility to go back and forth. And I just kept saying yes. Sarah Shunk, who you know dearly, she was living in Paris when we first started ClearEdge. And I had reached out to her and she said yes to joining. And her why, her husband was living overseas at the time. I don't even think that Elliot was born yet. He was one of the first ClearEdge babies, but at the time, he was born now that I think of his age. She needed that flexibility for her to help raise him, be overseas. She couldn't get a job over there. So for her, writing freelance and being able to do some contract work was great. So everyone had a special why when they joined the company. And it led to this feeling, which is one of our values of inspiring loyalty with each other. And it always was rising up. I want to keep working, but I can't do it full time because of this. Or we had a developer whose daughter had cerebral palsy and his wife's job wasn't flexible. So she couldn't take her to treatments, but he could. There was always a why as to what made us special and unique. And it always had to do with rising up. So for us, it's embracing that as part of a core of our culture. And it's, that's just part of me as a being. And that is infused in everything we do, down to hiring people. When we hire and the questions we ask, they may be a little bit different because I really want everyone to have something special or unique that kind of gives them this energy as to why, when someone has to go out on leave, they're willing to cover for them and not ask any questions and do everything they can. That's really important to me. We had 2 people on our team out last year with breast cancer, and, the way that our team stepped up for each other days, nights, weekends to cover for them and their why of what they needed and to rise up for them and to be there. It's the core and everything of our culture. And, that's something that I protect and I make sure is embedded in how we communicate with each other, that trust and transparency. It is really critical. Now, trying to grow and scale that, that's important to me. You and I are working on a book together, second chapter for Together We Rise, the Lady Leaders Book Club, the new book, the courage too. That's really my courage, the courage and growth, growing and making sure that why I can find a way to make sure that it sticks throughout the company as we continue to grow because it's been so important and special to us for since the beginning, since day one.
And Leslie, I feel like I've been on the periphery of your growth and watching ClearEdge, kind of really grow exponentially over the years. And I think the importance of the culture, like you've been true to the culture from the beginning. And that would probably be my message to all the listeners that tune into this podcast is regardless of the size of your company, I mean, it starts from the get-go. So if you're just starting a company and you're, the employee of 1 to you're the employee of 40 to 100 to 1,000, stay true to that culture because that's the thread throughout the fabric of the company that becomes so incredibly important. So I always love hearing that story. Also the diversity of thought. A lot of times when I talk about culture, I talk about diversity of thought and the importance of that. And that's something that, you and I share the same sentiments on. It's great to have diversity of thought because I often equate it to when you're cooking a meal, do you want to cook with just 2 spices or would you rather have, other spices, onion flavor and garlic or do you just want salt and pepper, right? What make a better meal for you? And there's studies that show that there's an increase in productivity and in efficiency when you have diversity of thought. If maybe you can add a little bit of color to that.
Sure. I mean, and think about it, when you taste the food and it has the 2 spices, it's okay, might be a little bland, but when you taste the other, it's like, "Wow, that is fantastic. That is great." And, I think it's a really interesting analogy, Anna. And as we think about that too, we're definitely not perfect when it comes to that. One of the things I'm most proud of, and one of the things that I know we need to work on is, we have a lot of women on our team. When we started the company, we had a lot of not stay at home moms, but moms who were wanting to stay in the workforce. They were working part time, raising their family and wanting to have a career at the same time. And what I realized in doing that was it was creating this phenomenal environment and opportunity for people. And people would join and say, I've never worked for a company with so many women. This is unbelievable. This is incredible. And I am incredibly proud of that. However, we also need to focus on diversity of thought. And that's something we've been, working on a lot too. And it isn't always just about those things. It could be people coming from outside of the industry and bringing different types of experiences to the table. It could be so many different things that we look at when we think of diversity of thought that we really try to do. So one of the things that we've done, Anna, is we partner with Clearly Rated and we do a sentiment survey. And they have a couple of questions that adds in about DE&I because sometimes the diversity of thought you can't visually see in someone and you don't know that. So something that was pleasantly surprising to me when we started doing this a while back is that we're actually more diverse in meets the eye than I even realized as a CEO founder because people were willing to open up more freely when they knew it was confidential, but it also gave them this permission to share. And then now that they know it's a safe environment, they can openly share all of those things within the company. And I'm really proud of that. And it's something that, we don't always realize what diversity of thought means until we understand that foundation of what we're doing. But I couldn't agree more. Having that is really key. We're in marketing and creative and so forth. And when we're working with our companies, our clients, if they said, we know ClearEdge, but everything you do looks exactly the same. In fact, we can look at websites and say ClearEdge, 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 ClearEdge. That would not be great. That tells me that we don't have a fantastic diversity of thought and it's kind of a sea of sameness. We want to bring unique, clever, different ideas to our clients and everything that they do to meet their business where they are and help them grow. And if we were all the same, it'd kind of be that bland dish that you were talking about. Um, Fortunately, we're not, and that's something that's really important to me. But doing that sentiment survey and really, then getting that baseline from the DEI factor and asking a few questions really opened up a lot of eyes, a lot of opportunities, for us as a company too.
That's great. Okay, so now it kind of leads me to our last question, which is I think it's like the $1 million question, right? Personal bliss. How do you accomplish, that balance? We've heard plenty of people say balance doesn't exist, but between family, health, well-being, what words of wisdom can you share?
Oh my goodness, Anna. I mean, one, and this, people talk about this a lot. It's finding grace in yourself and knowing that you can't be perfect every single day. There is no such thing. And, some days I'm like the best mother and celebrating how great I am with Grayson and how present I am and coloring and drawing and playing. And then the next day I'm in my computer responding to things, mommy, mommy, mommy. And I'm like, oh gosh, I need to be present. I need to be there, but I also run this company and I need to be there for this client or this teammate. It's tough, every single day. I think for me, something that's really important, obviously we moved to where we love. I had a vision board that Delibra Wesley helped me with, a good friend of both of ours, where I had on it, live where you love and love where you live. And we moved to Breckenridge, Colorado as a family. And for me, finding that time to be outside and with nature is really critical for me. Sometimes, and this isn't always ideal, but my team is good with it. And I think it shows that health is important, to me, and it starts at the top. Oftentimes, showing these things, I'll bike while I'm on calls with the team. I'm mountain biking, I'm hiking, I'm doing different things because I have to be outside with nature. It's really important to me. But I try to start every day Right now, we have a lot of snow. So I try to start every day with the snowshoe hike with our dogs. And I try to be out there with nature, relaxed, watching them run around, and they're full of joy and glee, sprinting through the trees and the snow. And for me, I can just look around and it brings me a sense of calm. I also know I'm doing it for health, working out, which is important. So it helps with my like mental health, my heart health, and it purely brings me joy. So I try to find that time, but listen, it's not it for everyone it's different. Some people do a better job of blocking their time than I do or different things, but for me today it's being with nature, and if that means, every morning I try to get out with the dogs. If for some reason I can't do that or I need more, my team will attest. They're like, I'll say, I'm gonna sound a little out of breath, but it's because I'm biking right now, and it could be because I'm training for a race or I just need to be outside. But for me, it's nature. I have to do it.
Right. Well, okay. First of all, I've been on the receiving end of those calls, and I'm always amazed that you sound perfectly fine while you're doing, like you're scaling a mountain, whatever you're doing. Meanwhile, when I do it, if I'm outside, because I also enjoy like being outside, going for like long walks and I sound so out of breath. I always have to explain to people like, okay, I'm, I'm, I'm walking. This is why I sound the way I do. But yes, I do think it's important. And I think it's a valuable message, Leslie, that you share is, kind of find that special thing for you and hang on to it and don't make excuses to not do it. Right. I mean, that's really the key.
I agree. I agree. And it's different for everyone, right? Like, and listen, I'm winded walking up our stairs. So don't, it is what it is. We do live at altitude, which is tricky. Um, but you do I think that's the key is we with the social media and all of the things, we see these pictures of everyone being so happy all the time, and it's not that we're not happy all the time, but some days are more difficult than others. It's finding what's right for you. I know a lot of people who write in gratitude journals, and that's what kind of gets their day started. I haven't been able to quite pick that up yet. That has not worked for me, and instead of being like, "Gosh, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't that work for me?" It just doesn't right now. Maybe it will down the road. I was so anti vision boards, Anna. I cannot tell you until I did one with Delibra. Then I had her do it for our company. We did it for the DEI group, are part of. I it took me time. I had to be in the right moment for that to be important for me. Do I do it all the time? No. But in that moment, it was right for me. And that's the key, I think, is what's right for you may not be right for everyone else. And kind of find that grace and be okay with that. And know that, sometimes there's balance, sometimes they're not. There's different eras, as Taylor Swift would say, what era are you in? Sometimes I'm in an imbalanced era, and I'm gonna roll with it.
Right. I love that. Well, Leslie, it's always so much fun to talk to you. Okay, I'm going to surprise you a little bit here. We
Oh, boy.
are going to do some rapid fire questions, almost like Colbert style of questioning. So I'm going to ask you, what's the most unusual item on your desk right now or where you're seated?
Okay, that's an interesting question because I don't have a desk. Maybe I need to get a desk, Anna. I'm not going to overthink this, but I work out of our kitchen and a co-working space. I do have a desk downstairs, but I like being one with nature, so all of these windows. So I'm at the kitchen counter and it is Christmas time for our family. And Grayson is obsessed with elves, Grayson, our son. So I'm gonna say I'm looking at these little I have a couple baby elves next to me. So that's gonna be my most unique item. I don't have a desk. So my desk is a kitchen counter and I'm sitting with elves today.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, so what's your guilty pleasure song that you never want anyone to hear during a sales call?
Oh, no. Guilty pleasure song. Anna, I'm gonna pull it up because I have a playlist that I created, from we did a race over the summer, and I often just put it on. I have to sometimes have, background music playing, so it's embarrassingly I'm going to say this out loud. I have a lot of Kids Bop because Grayson loves Kids Bop and I listen to it. So like Little Boo Thing and all of those things, all the way to I've got Beyonce, and different things. But I'm trying to think that there's a couple Rapper's Delight.
Oh, that's great.
It just gets me going. I don't know. All there I've got a very eclectic, like, Dispatch all the way to Slightly Stupid, many and Kids Bop all in one. So, I don't know.
That
You'll
is
wanna borrow my playlist more than likely.
that is fantastic. Okay, who would play you in a movie?
Oh gosh, this is such a tough question. Um, okay, so I have to say I fangirl over and really admire Jennifer Garner for a few reasons. I mean, there's different people, right? Like I like Reese Witherspoon and her like the Today Show that that what she's doing on Apple today, like her fierceness and charm kind of combined. But I would say, and the fact that she runs a movie studio for women-owned directors and writers and so forth is also really nice to me. But Jennifer Garner, starting back from the Alias days, did you ever watch Alias?
Yeah.
I've always been a fan. I don't know. I feel like she's warm, she's super smart, she's versatile, but she's strong and compassionate and also, a badass leader and fighter. So I don't know. I'd like to say maybe Jennifer Garner.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a great one. That is fantastic. Okay, if you were a superhero, what would your sales related superpower be? And it cannot be reading minds.
Oh boy. Okay. I mean, I like to think I can convince people to do things. I'm very passionate about, selling and marketing and so forth. But I think over the years, my superpower is definitely that connector piece where even if it's something where I can't help someone, I'm constantly trying to connect and bring people together. So building that network, building that community, and paying that forward and helping people as much as possible. So I think being that connector. So whether it's connecting people or listening to and hearing what's happening on the fly on a sales call and being able to connect dots quickly is I think really something that I can do well.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. You're definitely a master connector. So I think that's a great skill set that you have. Okay, what one word would your colleagues use to describe you on a Monday morning?
Oh my gosh, annoying, like
Yeah.
annoyingly energetic. I don't know. Uh, I don't know. Probably I've just come in from a hike and they're like, "Why are you so, what's going on?" Energy, something like that. Positive. I try to bring listen, Mondays can be tough for a lot of people, but I try to always bring, energy and positivity to what I do. And it's hard sometimes to do that, but I would say probably a mess too, because I am coming in from working out, and my first call on Mondays, I'm always like, "Sorry, I'm not on the camera. I'm coming in hot. I'll be there in a minute." So yeah, probably a mess and high energy.
I love that. High energy and a mess. That's
What
fantastic.
Lauren says, hot mess express, that's probably close,
That's extra.
but, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
Leslie, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And as always, I look forward to having you back on and we can compare how 2025 is going to turn out for all of us.
like, thank you, Anna. I appreciate you having me as a guest and always love our time together.
Thanks for listening to the Pass the Pitch podcast with Anna Frazzetto. Don't forget to subscribe and share. In our next episode, we talk to Leslie Vickrey about leading through uncertainty and why real growth starts with investing in people. See you then.